say, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. For those of you joining for the first time, and for those of you rejoining, welcome back. All right. Today's a very special episode. Today we're talking about knife skills. We're talking about knife basics. Today's a very special episode. Today we're talking about knife skills. We're talking about knife basics. Knife one. You know what I mean? To get you right. You know what I'm saying? So today's all about the knives, right? All about the knives and everything surrounding the knives. Okay? So let me make sure I have everything I need. My stones are downstairs. Jane? I have a blue tub by the Metro Shelving.
Yes.
It has my stones in it. Would you be a doll and bring them up for my...
Of course.
Is that one not going to?
No.
Okay. What's up, people? What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Welcome, Juliet, Miss Baker, Lady, Pebbles, Shelby, Betty, Pepper. What's up? How is everybody doing? Appreciate that. Shelly Belly. I love it. Appreciate that. All right, we're about to get started. Today's going to be fun. It's going to be different, of course, because normally I'm only here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? And I'm cooking, but today we are not cooking. Today we're gonna do some knife cuts, all right, with some very beautiful things, right? And then we're just gonna have some fun. Yes, you can leave that right there, sweetheart.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Yes, I had to go in the archives for this. Ooh, I need to. All right, we're gonna have to handle that. Okay, let's put that to the side. Okay, this is the culprit here. We throw that away. What's up, everybody? How we doing? I need to make sure we are good in here. Okay, all right, we're gonna handle this. Okay, lots of stones. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Let's jump right into it, all right? Now, first things first, knives. You want to make sure you have the right knife for the right thing. You know what I mean? You don't want to just use any knife and try to cut or do what you're supposed to be doing. You want to make sure that, hold on one second, let me do this. Boom. Let's get that going. All right, and then okay, I think we are good to go now. All right, perfect. So, like I was saying, with knives, you want to make sure you have the right knife for the job, right? Of course, you can use any knife to cut, but having the right knife does make the job easier, right? So for my home cooks, for my line cooks, for my chefs in training, wherever you fall on that spectrum, right? You want to make sure that, let me move this out of the way. You want to make sure that you're fully equipped for the job. So I'm going to run through a few of the knives that I have. I'm going to open up my knife bag, right? So we can get the other knives out of here so we can kind of talk about it, because I have multiple knives for different things. And before I became vegan, before I, 100% plant-based, right? Obviously, I'm a classically trained chef, so I needed to have knives for different things, for butchering, fish, meat, poultry, all that stuff. So I have different knives for different things, slicing knives, etc. So a chef knife, let's start with that, because that's the knife that basically is your all-purpose knife, right? Is the knife that most people use, is the knives that you'll find in most houses, right? So a chef knife could be a knife like this, right? And the blade is about 8 to 12 inches, right? And this is a chef knife as well. This is a scalloped knife, right? And it's called scallop because of the indentation in the blade. And what this does, it allows when you slice things and you cut things, for it to fall off of the blade versus stick. I don't know if you ever notice, sometimes you're cutting things, it's like just sticking to the blade. That's the reason why, because it's not scalloped, right? And do you need a scallop knife? No, you don't. It's just, something cool to have, and it works depending on what it is that you're cutting, right? So that's what a scalloped chef knife looks like, right? And we have next up is serrated knives. All right, these are really important. And there's two types of serrated knives, just like there's two types of chef's knives, right? You have the regular chef's knife that's straight like this, and then you have an offset, right, chef knife that kind of curves a little bit, right? And then you have, of course, the straight. So with serrated knives, you have a straight up knife like this that's about 10, 12 inches. And this is like your perfect bread knife, for cutting things that are crusty, hence the serrated right here, right? So that's what the serrated knife is for. These type of serrated knives are a hybrid of chef and serrated knives. So you can use them for kind of cutting things, chopping really quickly, and also using it for slicing bread and stuff like that, right? Very important. Now, in terms of other knives, let's talk about smaller knives, right? This would be considered a utility knife or a boning knife, right? And basically, it's like a mini chef knife, right? So much smaller. The handle fits completely in your hands, but you can move around with it. You can carve, you can cut really quickly depending on what it is that you need, right? Like cutting small tomatoes, small vegetables, anything like that. These kind of knives are perfect for that, right? So this is our utility / paring knife, is another name that you can call it. Now, there are these kind of slices which are serrated, and then I have chef knife type of slices where they're not serrated, they're just narrow and they're long, right? So this would be a slicer, right? So this is what you would use for, anything that you want to cut really thinly, right? And you want to take your time. These are not the knives where you're chopping really quickly and you're running through the knife. That's not the knife for this, right? These type of knives, you literally just want to slice very gently, very small, slow strokes. All right, that's what you would use a slicer for. All right, and your slices can be this size, or they can be even longer and they're this size, right? So it really just depends on what you're slicing. Like, for instance, when I cut my watermelon and stuff like that, I'll use my big knives because, I like getting the big seeded watermelons, of course. And it's nice when you have a big knife, you can just slice through it with one stroke versus having to kind of do a sawing motion, right? And end up with a not so nice cut, any kind of fruit, right? So those are in terms of the different types of knives. Now, I want to go over a few things with you in terms of handling, right? Very, very important. When you're handling knives, let's say you're going to wash your knife, right? You never want to hold the knife and have the blade face you, right? The sharp part of the knife right here, you never hold it like this. Copper Queen, what's up? Welcome, welcome. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Tonight's all about knives, all right? So, like I was saying, anytime you're handling a knife and you're about to wash it, you're about to wipe it, you're about to clean it, you never have the blade facing your body. The blade should never face your body, right? That's a big no-no. The blade should always turn away from you, so it's safe to touch the knife, to rub your hands on the knife. If you're not paying attention, you're not hurting yourself. So sharp blade, always pointing away from you. Second, when you're washing the knife, all right, as you're holding it, remember, you're not facing this way, because think about it. If you're holding the knife and the blade is facing you and you do this and you're not paying attention, you look away, you're literally slicing your fingers open, you're slicing arteries. Like, that's a bad accident waiting to happen. So when you point the knife away from you, you can wash the knife very easily. You can not have to think about it too much. But then also, the other thing I want to tell you, when you are washing your knife and you're wiping your knife, never to go back and forth on the blade like this. Until you're super comfortable, you call yourself a pro, that's the only time I would suggest doing something like this. Copper Queen, appreciate the heart me. Thank you. Right? So you always want to make sure that you wipe away, right? You wipe going in one direction always, all right? Always in one direction, never back and forth, because that's how you slice your fingers. It's guaranteed gonna happen. All right, Octavius, what's up? Octavia Diaz. Okay, so always one wipe away from you. Never backwards, always away from you. All right, that's the first thing. Okay, and wash your knives, dry them. The other thing I would say is, Copper Queen, I joined your fan club for 1 month. Yes, congratulations, Copper Queen. You in the fan club for 1 month. I appreciate that. All right, I appreciate that. Christine, what's up? Welcome, welcome. Thanks for checking out tonight's knife episode. All right. Piece of finger off. Like, I've seen all of those gruesome accidents, and trust me, they're really bad. I am well, Christine. How are you? So, always wash your knife as soon as you're done using it and put it away. Okay? Now, two things I want to talk about: stones to sharpen your knives, these things right here, and these. First up, this. This is a steel, right? There are multiple versions of a steel. The other one's in my other bag. All right, no problem. So there are multiple versions. I like stone. I like the diamond steel. Is that a sword? Funny. So what this is called a steel, and you hone your knife with it. So after you sharpen your knife, the edges, you won't really be able to see it, but there's little dings on the edge of your blade, right? So using one of these, right, you go, that allows you to smoothen out the edges and bring your blade back to a place where it's sharp enough to continue for another week or two. What's up, Cynthia? Appreciate the love. So the only time you're to use these steels, and they're called steels, right? The only time you use these is when you want to kind of bring your knife back to a point where it's usable, right? If your knife is super dull, then you need to actually sharpen it. This is not for sharpening. This is just for, like, let's say for my ladies that go to the hair salon and you get a touch up. Like, that's what this is. Or me coloring my hair, my wife coloring my hair. Like, that's what this is. All right. So this is literally just to do a touch up, and you can go away from yourself, right? Because this is the safest way to do it, right? You go away from yourself. When you get, super comfortable, right? You can do something like this. But in me doing that, there's a certain angle I'm holding the knife, right? So you want to pay attention to that. So this is the steel. I'm not putting the knife on the steel like this. I'm at an angle, right? So you see that? I'm at an angle. So, right? At an angle. And you're doing the same thing on the bottom. Always an angle. That's the best way to get your knife in a good place, all right? That's the first thing. And then, later on you can do this, how the people on TV do it, you know what I'm saying? But you want to be careful, because doing it like this, you miss, boom, right on your hands. You got to be careful, all right? These are the things that people don't realize can happen, right? So you want to pay very close attention.
I asked how often do you use that?
So these you use not often, right? So like, I just got my knives sharpened. They just finished being sharpened. So I won't need to use this on my knives for a while. The other thing is, depending on how much you use your knives, right? That's also a factor that you have to take into consideration. So if you're cutting like hard vegetables every day, like carrots, broccoli, potatoes, anything that's a little bit more fibrous, then you might need to use your steel maybe once a week or so. But it's something that you don't necessarily rely on too much, all right? Keep your knife sharp, and this is once in a while, okay? Now, Next thing is these guys right here. Do I like them? Not really. But I understand that some people don't have access to stones, right? Now, depending on how fancy you want to get, you can get stones for your knives. And this is the best case scenario to sharpen your knives, right? With stones. Okay. Now, the only other thing I would say is you want to pay attention to the type of stone you're buying. And what do I mean by that is stones come in grits, right? Grits. So this stone right here is 1,000 grit. So it's almost smooth, right? Not very coarse, not very porous, right? But then a stone like this right here, the white part is 1,500. So it's even smoother. And then the green part is 600, right? So let me break down why you need those numbers, right? And then I have another one here. This one is 5,000, not $5,000, but 5,000 in terms of the fineness, the coarseness of the stone. All right. And this is very important to know, right? This stone is the last stone you use once you've used the others. This is what polishes your blade. This is what makes your blade look shiny like you just bought the knife. All right. So very important. And this also helps you get rid of those little dings on your blade after it's been sharpened. Especially if your knife has been dull for a really long time, then you're probably going to have a lot of those little dings on your blade, and you would need that to finish it off. Christine, I watched your live for 400 minutes. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. You're a true VIP, Christine. Thank you for that. All right, back to our regular scheduled program. Now, stones. This is the breakdown. The higher the number, the finer the stone, the smoother it is. The lower the number, the coarse the stone is. The more rough, the more rugged. Now, what's the difference? What do you need them for? Knives like these, German knives that are very thick, the steel is very hard, you need coarse stones. So you need like a 600, a 400, a 800 stone, right? You need a stone between those numbers so you can really actually file this down, this blade, while you're using it, right? And it's really important to know how to do this. So the first things first, right? Were you gonna say something?
Victoria said hello, chef.
Victoria, what's up? What's poppin'? Yes. So check this out. With the stones, the older your knife is, the more dull your knife is, you need a coarser stone, right? For me, I have a lot of Japanese knives, like the knives with the pretty handles, the blue, the green handle, even this one with the red handle here, right? These are Japanese knives. So with those knives, I only use a stone like this, right? No, you didn't miss too much of the class. You're right on time, Victoria. So with a stone like this, which is 1,000 grit, I will use this for my Japanese knives, right? Like my Misono, this is a Japanese knife. It's a Swedish steel, but it's a Japanese knife, right? So those are the type of knives I would use with a stone like this. Now for my heavy duty knife like this, I will use one of my thicker stones. Like I said, the stones that are, 1,000, like this one, I have two, green and white. This one is 1,500 white, 600 green. This one is 1,000 green, and the white is 6,000. So you can get the same kind of stone in different grits. It just depends on where you buy it from, right? So that 1,000 is what I would use for this steel once it gets dull, right? Now, once I'm finished sharpening my knife, and before you sharpen your knife, you want to pick the type of steel, the type of stone that you're getting. These are Japanese stones. So sometimes these stones will be carved out of a mountain. Like you can get really fancy with the stones that you buy to sharpen your knives. I have a Glestin. Oh, wow. Nice, Rebel. Nice. All right. So this is a Glestin, ladies and gentlemen, right? The scallop knife. All right. Really cool knife. Fell in love with this knife when I was in culinary school. So that's why I got it. But yeah, so with the stones, just be careful where you go to buy your stones, because not every stone is equal and not every stone is created equal, right? So you want to pay very close attention to it and make sure that it's a good quality. A good brand is a company called King. They make really amazing stones, from super coarse to super fine, right? Now, I will say this. When you get your stone, you have to decide before you use it. Are you going to use oil or are you going to use water? Right? Very important, because if you decide to go with oil and you decide to sharpen your knives using oil, you can never use water. The minute you add water to a stone that you've been using oil on, you will kill the stone. Like, it will mess up. It will create a coating on the stone, and you will not be able to sharpen your knives anymore. Like, it's really bad. So I learned that the hard way in culinary school. So if you start with oil, stick with oil. If you start with water, stay with water. Me, preferably, I like water because I can dry it and put it away. Because stones, they mildew, they get funky if they're not dried properly and they're not left to get air. So you want to pay really close attention to that, because they can be very porous. So you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing by protecting your stones. Okay? So that's how we do the stones. And depending on the type of stone, the type of knife that you get, you will have to hold it on that stone in a particular way. Some of my knives, the blade is 70% on one side, 30% on one side. And then I have knives like this one and my Glestain, which is 50-50. So a knife that's 50-50, you want to, as you count your strokes. So if you do 10 strokes this way, you're going to do 10 strokes on the opposite side. It has to be even on both sides every single time. All right. So make sure you pay attention to that. All right. Equal strokes on both sides. You can go backwards. You can bring it back. You can go forward. It's totally up to you. Just make sure that you're keeping the knife on an angle, so this way you're actually sharpening the blade properly. All right. Appreciate that, Rebel. All right. Very, very, very important. Right. Now, with these guys, companies sell these because they know a lot of people will not go and buy a stone or not know how to use a stone. So they get away with selling these, and they're okay for being in a pinch. Rebel, appreciate that. Number 27 in the fan club. Nice. 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 Plant-based sushi chef. I love that. I love me some sushi, Rebel. So, yeah. Very nice. Very nice. So you want to make sure that if you are going to get one of these, I mean, it's here. I have it in my house. I don't even know how it got in here. I'm going to blame my mom. No, that's not fair.
Wait, Grandma got it for you.
She did?
I remember. She has one.
Okay. So, well, either way, right? I'll be honest. I have used it sometimes, but I will never use it with my Japanese knives. Like, my expensive knives will never touch this. But the knives that I beat around and I don't care about, like my serrated knife, I'll use it on that, right? Because you can't really sharpen a serrated knife any other way except for if you take it to someone that sharpens knives. So something like this works because there's 3 different sections, and one of them is specifically for serrated knives. So that's why I would have this, so I can use my serrated knife. And you know what I mean? A few strokes, you don't go like this in there, right? You literally like that, right? You do that a couple times, you check it, right? Now, how do you know if your knife is sharp? I'm glad you asked that question, ladies and gentlemen. Can anyone right now watching tell me, how do you test your knife to see if it's sharp or not? Let's see who's gonna get this. Let me get my tomato ready and my carrots. Tell me, people, how do we know when a knife is sharp? Emma, what are the people saying?
Rebel Wolf said a piece of paper. Victoria says paper.
Yeah. All right.
Paper.
Cut things.
Cut paper. I was gonna say cut.
Mafiti. I love that. Mafiti. Cut things. I like that. Okay. You're all correct. But listen to this. Check this out. Now, when you get really comfortable with your knife, right? And what I'm about to show you, I don't suggest you doing unless you know what you're doing. If it cuts smoothly, Miss Manager. All right. So what you want to do is you take your knife, you point it upwards with the blade, and then you basically like play a guitar. You strum your blade, right?
I see that.
So you go like this, and you can hear, right? And when you do this, a few things you're looking for. One, how much does it grip your fingers? And you want to do both sides, right? And automatically by doing both sides, you can tell which side is sharper than the other side. One side is going to grip your fingers when you're doing it, and it's almost like taking nails and scratching your skin, right? So you want to listen to the difference. See, there's a big difference, right? So that's one way to test. The other way to guarantee know if your knife is not sharp is cut tomatoes. If your knives are dull, you almost can never cut into a tomato. You will burst the tomato or you will squish the tomato, right? Now, this one hasn't been sharpened in years, so it's not that sharp. So, but it still cut it. So I'm mad that it cut it. Anyway, so I'm just leave it alone. But when your knives are not sharp enough and you try to cut a whole tomato, it will literally like press into the tomato without actually cutting it, right? Yes.
Victoria said, after sharpening the knife, do you recommend rising the knife?
After sharpening it, what?
Do you recommend rising it?
Maybe just a little bit, right? I guess it goes back to how dull your knife was and how much you had to work on it. You know what I mean? But you definitely want, I mean, you have to wash your knife. That's one thing, right? Washing it off, right? Because I thought you were referring to the honing of it. But yes, 100%. You always want to wash your knife every single time after you sharpen it, because there's little shards that it's like dust. You can't really see it because it's very small.
Oh, she meant rinsing.
Yes.
My bad.
But no, it's okay. But you want to make sure that you do rinse that off. What about a serrated tomato knife? Those are cool, Sherry. They work. You know what I mean? I won't buy a knife specifically just for tomatoes. But if you already have one, that's cool too. Now to sharpen it, you're going to need something like this. You know what I mean? That's the best case scenario, right? Appreciate that heart meat, Sherry. But serrated knives are the hardest to sharpen because you can't sharpen them unless you have a contraption like this. You know what I mean? Something similar to this. And then it needs to say that one of these sections is specifically for a serrated knife, right? Because otherwise, if you use the other sides that are made for a regular chef's knife, you will damage your knife and it will get more dull than actually sharpened. All right? Because the grooves are not the way they're supposed to be. Oh, snap. Look at that. Heart. Hand heart. Appreciate that, Sherry. You rock. So that's it for knives. Any questions before we cut some stuff? Ah, I love that mushroom. Appreciate that. Mushrooms is my jam. So thank you for that. Thank you so much, Sherry. You rock. New title gifter of Rose. Yeah, Sherry. You popping. The block is hot, Sherry. The block is hot. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Sherry, please. She's hooking us up with the roses because love is in the air with the roses, right? God is good. Life is good. You know what I'm saying? But back to the knives. What? Okay. Grandma. All right. Grandma's in the building almost. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, questions for me about knives, about sharpening knives, anything like that. Now, as you guys are coming to me with your questions, I want to show you something very important, right? We're going to cut actually instead of the carrot and the tomato because I want you to see something. When you're cutting anything like this that rolls around, right? Very important that you pay attention to, you want to make, safety is always first, right? So to be safe when you're cutting anything like this, and this is citrus, anything that rolls around, onions, right? Apples, anything that won't stay firm and stay stationary, you need to make it stationary, right? And the way you do that, for instance, citrus, cantaloupe, watermelon, anything that has this water um, football kind of shape to it, right? Like an oblong shape. You always want to cut off the bottom. Ooh, so sharp. The bottom and the top. One slice, right? You always want to cut off the bottom and the top. And the reason you want to do that is because now it's not going anywhere. It's not rolling around. It's safe. This is super, super important. So the next time you want to cut into a pineapple, you want to cut into anything round that is going to roll over while you're trying to work with it, always give it a flat surface to work with. And then from here, it's easy for you to hold it and then work as you're cutting, right? Okay, right? We're done. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? So that's the first thing, right? In terms of cutting, all right? We want to make sure that we always work with a flat surface. So I'm going to just trim this. All right, make sure it's good. All right, and we are done. Okay. Now, another important technique when cutting, okay, is, I will show you. Let me put this to the side. We get a spoon. All right, you want to make sure that you're protecting your hands, right? Because if you're not protecting your hands, then the knife is going to have a field day with your hands, right? So when I say protecting your hands, this is what I mean, all right? You put this down. I'll put it this way so you can see my fingers. Now, this is called the claw technique, all right? And this is very important because this is how you, when you're watching TV, watching movies, whatever it is, and you see people cutting and they're not looking, sometimes you'll see me do it if you've ever joined my lives where I'm talking to you and I'm cutting. The only reason we can do that is because we have trained ourselves mentally and physically to put our fingers in a position where we never have to think about it. That's where the claw technique comes from. So the average person will hold the cantaloupe like this, right? Or hold it like this and cut. Your fingers are exposed, right? That's how you cut your fingers. That's how you get accidents, right? So it don't matter what it is that I'm cutting. It don't matter how big or how small it is. My fingernails is always kind of etched into whatever it is that I'm holding, right? Super important. You don't want to do this and cut, because the minute you're cutting like this and you look away, you get distracted and you're still cutting, you're cutting your fingers, right? So the goal is to use your knuckles as a guide. So when you do the claw, right, and you're doing it with all 5 fingers, you put your nails, and you're not sinking your nails into the vegetable, the fruit, whatever it is. You're basically, it's like anyone that has cats, you know, when cats put their paws on you, they kind of extract their nails just a little bit, but it just kind of basically just kind of touches you. They don't sink their claws into you. So it's the same idea, right? So you want to just touch the nails, and then you want to guide the knife with your knuckles like this, right? You want to guide the knife with your knuckles. As long as you're doing this, you see my fingers, they will never be exposed. So there's no cutting off my fingers. There's no cutting off anything, right? So as we do it like this, you're able to cut. I can look at you, I can cut, because I know my knuckles is always going to be there, and I can cut, and I can cut this all the way until we're done. All right? Okay. You know, this person, George, please, people are in here to learn. They're not in here to do anything. Sure, Emma.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sherry. Yeah, we're he's booted. That's so unfortunate. Thank you, Victoria. So, always important to do the claw method, right? You will always win, and it's the safest situation. And once you get, it will feel weird in the beginning because it's not the norm, but once you do it for consistently, it's like night and day. You know what I mean? Like you can just cut and just glide. You know what I mean? And then it becomes fun. Okay. It's really sweet.
Can I have one? Pour some more. Thank you.
All right, let me do this last one and show you one more skill, and then we'll cut something else that I can show you something else. Cut something else that I can show you something else. Alrighty, there we go. So remember, right? Claws, and you got a message there? Right?
Friends of food said perfect slices, chef.
Ah, appreciate that. And that's the other thing with the guiding, you know, it just makes sense. And now, once you get to the end, you're not going to be able to do the claw so much. And at that point, you're not running through it, right? So at that point, obviously, you're going to take your time and then just normally slice it. But see, even with that little piece, you saw my fingers. And this is the other thing I want to tell you too about when you're cutting, right? That's very important. Your thumb, when you're cutting, like my hand, normally you're facing forward, your thumb is always going to be sticking out, right? Like this. When you're cutting, right? You see my fingers, my thumb, I always position my hand sideways. My elbows, your elbows always have to stick out, right? So instead of holding it like this and cutting, and then you see this is how you stick out your thumb, and this is how you cut your thumb, right? So your thumb, even with the claw method, your thumb always needs to be in the back, right? Always in the back. And multiple things are happening while you're cutting. When you're doing this, right? Thumb always in the back. But because the thumb is in the back, you're able to push the food forward as you're holding it this way, right? Yes, Emma.
Victoria said I have to get the point fun cutting.
I'm telling you, having a sharp knife and the right technique makes cutting fun. Okay? So, thumb always in the back. Fingers, four fingers always up front and bent, right? So it's almost like a spider. Think of it as like a spider or a claw, but you know, it's like this, right? Thumb always needs to be in the back. The leader is the index finger and the middle finger. Those two are always the ones up front. These two are always the ones guiding the knife, okay? Everything else is second, right? Very important. Once you do this and you turn your hands, you're always going to be in a good position.
Okay, two things. Miss Manager asked, is it hard if you have long nails?
It's not hard if you have long nails, but it could prove somewhat difficult depending on what it is that you're cutting.
So like running in heels. It's a little bit more difficult, but you can still do
But
it.
you can still do it, yes.
And then Priscilla said, thank you so much for this class. It's such a learning tool.
Ah, beautiful. My pleasure. Now, let me show you another thing, all right? Cutting carrots. In culinary school, our final exam, they gave us like 10 pounds of carrots. And we had to cut them in a bunch of different French styles. One of them is called brunoise, which I will show you. One of them is called julienne. One of them is called bâtonnet, right? All knife cuts, right? Based off of sizes and shapes. So you have to literally cut the perfect cuts as part of the final class. But in cutting carrots, you learn so many different things. Someone had the most severe accident during the final. There was blood everywhere. It was really bad, right? Because carrots is one of those things, if you're not paying attention, it rolls, right? Remember what I told you about vegetables, fruits, whatever rolling around? They're dangerous. So you always want to give it a flat surface to work off of. All right. So with a carrot, after you've peeled it, if you're not slicing slices, then you have to get it flat, right? So to get it flat, what I would do is I would just slice very thinly a side off and then put it down on that side. So now it's flat. It's not rolling anywhere, right? It's still. And then from here is where we would do the different cuts, right? So Julienne is cutting it into thin pieces like this. You see how thin this is? It's like literally the same size as the blade, right? That's how thin this is, right? So this is the beginning slices of Julienne. So you have to cut it this thickness first, and then you run your knife through it this way. This is what you call Julienne, right? Little matchsticks like this, right? So this is one way to cut, right? And of course, you don't need to do anything fancy like that when you're home, but technique-wise, right? Now, for brunoise, brunoise is after you have cut Julienne, you then do small dices like this. Right? Boom. These are brunoise, right? Literally little small cuts like that, right? So those are done. And then for bâtonnets, those were the easiest because it's a much bigger cut. And basically, now you see how I'm still holding this, right? We have the flat piece. My claws are still going into the carrot, right? Victoria. So you see my nails, they're holding the carrot, right? I'm making my cut. And when you're cutting with a knife, you always want to start from the tip of the knife and slice downwards and move forward, right? You're slicing like this. Slice down and push the knife forward, right? Down, push forward, okay? That's how you do it. And you get a nice piece like this. You see that? Even, beautiful cut, right? And then from there, it's the same thing. So this one cut, that's a bâtonnet, right? It's like a perfect square, a perfect log.
Like a baton.
Literally, hence bâtonnet. It's because it's French. So that's basically what it is. So these would be for a side of carrots. So you know what I mean? Those are the cuts, but that's the technique in terms of holding it, getting it to a place where it's easy for you to work with. All right, super, super important. Okay, these carrots are sweet.
Yeah.
Mm.
Batonnet. Thank you.
Okay. What else? Let me show you.
Did you got a tomato yet?
No.
Okay.
Let me show you how to supreme a citrus, right?
Ooh.
Does anyone know what supreme mean? Does anyone know how to supreme a citrus? And when I say citrus, I mean orange, lemon, tangerine, grapefruit. Any of those would be citrus, right? Talk to me, people. Does anyone know how to supreme a citrus? It's one of the coolest things we're going to do today. And this is what restaurants do when they serve you citrus, right? This is how they do it. And the reason, cut off the skin, manager. All right, so let me show you. Supreming is cutting off the skin, but it's more than that, right? You want to supreme citrus because you want to serve just the segments of the citrus without any of the skin, without any of the pith, without any of the white bitter part, without any of the seeds. So that's the reason why you supreme citrus. Now you can supreme any citrus, big or small, right? The bigger it is, the prettier they look, but we're going to supreme a lime, all right? Just so you see how to go big or small. What's up?
Can you only supreme citruses?
Yes, because only citrus has segments,
Right.
right? So you can cut in the style of supreme the out part of like
The
watermelon,
That's what I was talking
cantaloupe.
about.
Yeah, so I cut those the same way, but that's the extent of it, right? Only citrus has compartments, like it's connected with walls,
Right.
right? Individually.
That's how you're able to peel them.
Exactly. So that's the only reason you can segment a citrus. All right. So this is how we do it. So remember, because it's round and it rolls around, we want to make sure it's safe first, right? So we cut off the bottom, cut off the top, and you end up with that, right? These are going in the garbage disposal to deodorize my sink. Now, for this part, you want to pay attention to the shape of the citrus that you're cutting, and you want to use that as your guide to cut the citrus, right? So because I know this is a lime and I just know how it's shaped, how it moves, I'm going to cut accordingly. And you want to follow the thickness of the skin with the white part, right? You want to follow that. So that's your guide as in how deep you want to cut into this to peel it, okay? So the goal is when you cut this and you're peeling it this way is to cleanly cut off the skin and the white, but just enough where you're not taking off too much of the flesh, right? You see there's barely any in here, right? So that's the first objective of this, is to cut it nice and clean and neat. You know someone's professional when they're doing segments and when they cut this, two things. One, how sharp your knife is also affects how smooth and clean this looks. That's one. Two, if they don't know what they're doing and they're cutting it this way, they're gonna cut only skin and they're gonna be left with some white on it in multiple places, right? So the goal is to cut this in a way you can see, yes. So it's to cut this in a way where you're seeing what you're cutting, right? And you cut it down, right? So you can use one of those small knives or you can use a big knife if you're comfortable, right? And the goal is to cut this down so it's nice and even, right? But not cutting off too much of the flesh when you do it, all right? Very important. The softer the citrus, the more juicy it's going to be when you're cutting it, and that can be a big problem. So look at this. It's perfectly peeled, right? Perfectly peeled, right? The next step, all right, after we've done that, now this part can get dangerous, so you want to pay attention, right? You don't want to slice too hard or too fast. Appreciate that, Victoria. So you want to take your time with this, right? Now, if you look at all citrus, there are lines, right? All through it. And those are the segments, right? So what makes this cool is how and where you cut, right? So you use the white lines as your guide and you want to cut against the white line, like literally using it as like a rail, and you're cutting just above it, and then you go to the other side where the line is and you cut just above it. And look at this. You end up with a beautiful piece of lime segment, no bitter white part on it, just like perfect. And you do this with oranges, you do this with tangerines, you do this with lemons, and then you can add it to your salad, you can add it to your fruit salad.
That would be so good in a drink though.
Exactly, right? So the goal is to cut against the white and just barely cut down until you get to the middle, and then you cut on an angle. So you end up with these pieces, which is where the divider is, right? These we can just squeeze out and get the juice.
I keep forgetting it's a lime. I'm like, I want to.
But right, but exactly, that's how pretty they look when you cut it this way. And it's just, my mouth is watering. Victoria, I'm telling you, it's so cool because with this, you can actually enjoy the citrus. You know what I mean?
Victoria said margaritas.
And because you do it this way, when you make the margarita, there will be no bitterness. Because anytime you muddle limes or lemons, that white, it gives off a bitterness. And two, so with citrus, one thing you want to look out for, right? Anytime you're making drinks or you go out to a bar and you're ordering a drink, if the limes look yellow, tell them you don't want it. Limes oxidize very quickly, and the minute they go from green to yellow, they're turning and they're going to get bitter, right? And that bitterness affects the flavor of your drink. So if you have ever made a drink or if you ever bought a drink somewhere and you tasted it and you're like, why does it have that kind of off taste? It's because the limes were turning bad, right? So either they use 2-day-old limes or a day-old lime, or the limes, when they cut into them, they were already turning, right? So your best case scenario for limes, this is only for limes, they need to be bright green, dark green, not brown, not yellow. That's not the color limes you want. Like, you tell them, don't throw it away, right? So your limes always need to be bright green. That's the best flavor for any drinks, for eating it fresh. That's the best case scenario. Bright green skin, all right? With lemons, yellow, of course. Anything else, it's not a lemon, right? Oranges, same thing. You know, as long as they're orange, they're good. You know what I mean? But this is how you supreme a citrus, and you would do that all the way around. You would save those little pieces, and then you want this one? I ate it. It's like just clean, you know, and it's not even that tart because it's just, you know, it's so different when you get rid of those pieces.
You're 100% right, but you have a very high tolerance to this kind of stuff.
So that's it in terms of citrus. Careful with the light, Emma.
Yeah.
What else could we cut? I think that's it, right?
It's so bitter. It's so sour.
It's not that sour.
Why did you say like it was some kind of orange?
Well, you know, it's good for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any questions for me before I get out of here? Yeah, any questions? I'm about to head to New York. All right, I have to pack my suitcases, pack my knife bag. All right, gotta make sure my knives get checked in. We don't want no problems. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I'll be in New York tomorrow, and I'll be doing the festival. So if you're in New York, if you're in Brooklyn, if you're in Queens, definitely make sure you check out the Veg Fest that's happening in Brooklyn. I've posted about it on Instagram and here too. But yeah, it's happening in Brooklyn. It's gonna be about 6,000 people. I'm doing a workshop with one of the dishes in my cookbooks. So if you haven't gotten a chance to check out the cookbooks in the TikTok shop, make sure you do that. All right. It's my Asian noodle salad that I learned how to make when I was in India. So that's what I'm doing for the workshop this weekend. So ladies and gentlemen, I think grandma's here. Just check and let me know. Okay. So yeah, people, let me put my glasses back on, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. Anytime. And yeah, go ahead, sweetheart. It's grandma, right? Yeah. Okay, my mom's here. You know, she has to come watch the kiddies so I can go handle business. Victoria, appreciate it. Abs methods. Cool. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Victoria, thank you. Jennifer, appreciate it. Cooper. Copper. I don't know why I said Cooper. But Copper, thank you so much. It's always fun to share what I know. I learned a lot today from you. Appreciate that, Victoria. Christine, thank you. What's up, Ma?
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good, Chef.
Peace, bro. Yeah? You good?
Yeah.
You want to come say hi?
Oh,
Don't be shy. Sorry, my mom's always shy.
where are you
I be
putting
messing
me
with
on
her.
the spot?
Oh, I'm not putting you on the spot. You know,
My body?
I love showing you off. Come on, girl.
Should I take my
Hey,
hat
Daddy,
off?
You're fine. You can keep it on her. Oh my goodness. All right, hold on. Someone said something. Thank you. Now I won't chop my fingers off. No worries. What's up, people? This is my mom, aka the plant lady. Right? So anytime you see someone commenting that says plant lady, that's who she is. All right. So yeah, people. About to get out of here so I can pack. Christine says hello, mom.
Hi, nice to see you and meet you, Christine. How are you?
Cool. So yeah, people, we out. All right. Starlight, thank you so much. Copper, appreciate it. Mama is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's where you get your handsome.
That's right. Yeah, buddy.
Grandma, where's my kiss?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, twins. Victoria said twins. I know, right? We do look alike.
Yeah, we do.
But yeah, people, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for rocking and rolling and young. Yeah, my mom, and she's a black belt. Like, she don't play no games.
That's right.
She's a black belt too. Like, she does martial arts every week.
Bye.
Chef Ed has a beautiful family. Appreciate that, Copper. Thank you so much. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to get out of here so I can tidy up, finish up, and God bless you as well, Starlight. Thank you. Nobody's messing with her. You got that right, Victoria. Between her, my daughter's a second degree black belt. My wife's a second degree black belt. I'm a second degree black belt. My two youngest ones are first degrees. So yeah, the whole family does martial arts every week. You know what I mean? I do it 4 days a week. So I love it. I've always wanted to do martial arts. So it's fun to be able to do it, you know, and just do that kind of thing. But thank you, Christine. Black belt fam. Yes, Victoria, you said it. Safe trip to New York. Yes, indeed. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Most definitely. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate each and every one of you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I wish you an amazing week. Have an amazing weekend. I will see you on Monday. All right, we're gonna start cooking from the cookbooks. Okay. Appreciate that, Green Eyes. That's a cool way to spell that. But yeah, thank you so much, and God bless. All right, Emma, sign us out, please.